Incredible how far technology, excuse me, and modern medicine have come, and it is only going to get even more mind-blowing as we approach that singularity. Of course, this does raise some very interesting questions about how humans are going to be able to cope with this new technology, this different way of interacting between a doctor and a patient, which is very much a ritual as old as time itself. And Dr. Darren Green, I know, is nodding his head here. This is obviously a topic that really interests you. You're a doctor who has positioned yourself in the greater arenas of overall well-being, holistic health, not just medicine. You know, watching the insert before this and looking at how far medicine is going and what is next for us over the next decade or so, do you get a little nervous?
No, I do. I get excited more than nervous. I think the role that technology has played, ranging from cyberchondria, where people try to diagnose themselves, basically with online questions and answers and algorithms and pathways that lead them to a possible diagnosis. I think that makes medicine quite exciting. But it also, for me, as a practitioner who got into the whole industry because of obviously believing that it's a calling and believing that healing is a calling and people need healing in the communities we live in, it's certainly reassuring to know that the role of a medical practitioner and medicine itself has certainly been almost emphasized. There's a lot to be said for the direct relationship of actually seeing someone.
I was going to say, how much of that is hands-on? How much of the healing happens because it's person to person?
Yes, I think a lot of people actually get a lot of well-being and a lot of positive effect on their physiological being just from being examined. I mean, the effects of not even giving anyone a pill or drugs, but just examining them and even just listening to them. Almost like the placebo effect, when you give someone a pill that doesn't contain an active ingredient, can also cause them to actually get better.
There is a lot of psychology.
Yes, but you know, the actual hands-on experience of interpreting signs and symptoms and clinical syndromes, I really believe it's extremely difficult for you as the person engaging with technology, for example, to actually make the decisions as to which path your symptoms or your signs should lead you down. And I think that's where the insight and the expertise of the physical examination will never be replaced.
Never be replaced. So what are some of the plus sides in this world of clutter where we get bombarded with so much information? And, you know, just the cost would be the first sort of benefit to jump to mind. But where do you see the positive spin of sort of us using technology in a richer way?
We need technology in an incredible way right now. We are faced with lifestyle diseases due to the stresses in society, a lack of sleep, poor diet. For example, people complain of things like not being able to cope with the chronic stressful state of adrenaline in the bloodstream. So that minimizes the time you want to spend at a doctor's office. You want to minimize the time that you actually spend waiting in the queues at a pharmacy even, for example. So where I believe there's a good synergy is where technology comes in minimizing the time you need for that. So the preparation work, the history taking, a lot of it can actually happen online. A lot of it can happen, obviously, with questionnaires you fill in beforehand. But to ensure that the patient has an accurate diagnosis and nothing is missed, the physical examination can certainly not be replaced.
Yeah, and as long as that information is pure and you're getting that. So what do you think is next? What is the most exciting thing for you about technology and medicine? Where do you see this going?
Well, a lot of the things you featured and mentioned on the show already are things like the chips that people swallow, or capsules that people swallow that can actually analyze the blood levels of certain chemical substances for conditions like epilepsy and diabetes and even hypertension, for example. You can imagine how important it is to know that you have the right amount of the drug in your system to ensure that you prevent strokes, that you don't get breakthrough seizures, and that you don't die of a hypoglycemic coma. So the technology of slow-release medications in cancer, for example, that prevent people having to go in and get IV drugs constantly, that's been looked at quite extensively.
Wow.
But certainly monitoring of the internal environment of the body is no stranger to the world of technology. Even our cell phones have apps that can check your blood pressure, your heart rate, and those applications are just mind-blowing, and they certainly have a use because they enable you to pick up the warning signs of possible risky diseases and lifestyle diseases, and then know when it's serious enough to actually consult a professional.
And that's the watchword there, consult a professional. And like Dr. Darren Green, move with the times.
Thank
Lovely
you.
stuff, hugely insightful as always.
Thank you.
Ah, Brilliant stuff. Well, you don't have to be afraid of new technology coming into play. There's ways, or a multitude of ways, that it can really help to benefit you, but just make sure that you stay in touch with your medical practitioners and always get a word from a professional.